Morning, ILA. I have to tell you, it's great to be with you, and I want to thank you, Brother Harold, for that very, very kind introduction. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your leadership. You and Dennis and the entire executive team are doing a tremendous job leading this union forward, and I want to thank you for that. Senator Menendez and my good friend and brother, President of LIUNA, Terry O'Sullivan, Brother Steve Sweeney, all the dignitaries, let me say good morning and thank you. And to every ILA member out there, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your solidarity. Thank you for making this country go. Our ports are filled with American heroes, and you deserve nothing but the very best because you are the very best. You know, I started my career in the labor movement about 50 years ago, Dennis, and I have to tell you, I've never been more excited about our labor movement than I am today. Union approvals at 62%, the highest in 16 years. 2018 was the biggest year ever for collective action in 3 decades. MIT found that nearly half of all non-union workers out there would vote to join a union tomorrow if given the chance. That's more than 60 million people want to join us. You see, something's happening in America. Working people are rejecting an economy that leaves too many of us behind. And I have to tell you, as I look around this room, I really remember why I'm in this fight. Because we turn bad jobs into good jobs. And we turn good jobs into great jobs. We don't do it for money. We don't do it for fame or glory or fortune. We do it because someone did it for us. And before that, someone did it for them. We do it because we're called to. That's who we are. We're trade unionists, and that's what we do. See, I was born and raised in a small community in southwestern Pennsylvania. I'm a third-generation miner, and in that town, the coal company owned everything except the Catholic Church and the Union Hall. They had the town, but we had the people. And we fought, and we bled, and we sacrificed, and some of us even died. And along the way, we turned coal mining jobs into a career where you could raise a family. Never forget this, brothers and sisters. The American dream was built on the solidarity of America's working people, and the American dream will be built that way once again. And you've done that same thing right here in the Longshore. Around the time that I was playing football and thinking about chasing women and maybe going to school somewhere, Teddy Gleason was securing the future of the ILA members for decades to come. Your guaranteed annual income program and your container royalty payments were visionary acts of collective bargaining. And more than half a century later, those year-end checks are still coming. Gleason's legacy of leadership lives on today in Brother Harold Daggett right here, and in the ILA's 6-year master contract, which includes wage increases, national health care, and no fully automated ports from Maine to Texas. You did that. You did that, and you ought to give yourself a round of applause for what you did. See, my friend and partner, Liz Schuler, our Secretary-Treasurer, She's going to talk more about the future of the work tomorrow. But let me tell you this. The ILA is an example for the rest of the country. Raising wages, guaranteed health care, a fair share of the wealth that we create, and a real voice in the deployment of technology. That's a future that all of us can and must win. Whether you're a teacher, a nurse, pilots and engineers at our ports or at our factory floors, whether you're public or private, rural or urban, men or women, black or white, gay or straight, immigrant or native born, you have a right to control your future and to control those things that affects us through collective bargaining. All of us together have that right. You see, in the richest country in the world, at our richest point in history, every worker should be paid enough to support their family. One job should be enough. No one should go broke just because they get sick. No one should die on the job. No one should be paid less because of their gender. No one should be fired for who they are. Everyone should have a voice. Everyone should have a fair shot and a fair shake. And everyone should be able to form a union. This is our time. This is our moment. This is our country. And we're taking it back for the working people of this country. You know, Harold, I mentioned earlier that I played some football, and I had a high school coach. His name was Bear Stuvak. Now, he was exactly that. And Bear taught me about perseverance and dedication and good old-fashioned hard work. Bear used to put us through this drill called Bull in the Ring. Now, I'm certain that if he did it today, he'd go to jail. You see, he put 12 of my teammates around me in a circle, and he'd make them count off. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he'd call all the ones, and the ones would come at you from different directions. Then the twos, and then the threes, and then the fours. And he'd keep calling their numbers, and I'd keep getting hit harder and harder and harder. But before long, I started hitting back. And I'd hit back with everything I had. I'd hit back until they finally got the message that while you can knock me down, you'll never knock me out. You'll never make me quit. You'll never make me give up. And you'll never make me give in. You see, the labor movement, we're that bull in the ring. We've been getting hit over and over and over again, every single day, from every different direction. Trade, taxes, immigration, wages, health care, retirement, overtime, workplace safety, the freedom to join a union. The forces of corporate greed are still trying to deny you the right to strike by moving longshoremen under the Railway Labor Act. Well, the last time I checked, the ILA hasn't gone on strike since 1977. But you better believe that your right to strike has provided you the leverage that these men need to negotiate a contract for you. And I can tell you this, they'll never take that right away from you so long as I have anything to say about it. And anti-worker politicians are looking for new excuses to waive the Jones Act. Let me tell you something, Harold. I was offended. I was deeply offended when the right wing tried to use the tragedy in Puerto Rico to scapegoat a law protecting American jobs and American workers. A Jones Act waiver would not have saved a single life in Puerto Rico. You know what saved lives in Puerto Rico and on that island? The leadership, the fundraising, the dedication, the skills, and the patriotism of the International Association of Longshoremen. That's exactly what saved lives in Puerto Rico. They keep taking shots at us, but the labor movement's growing stronger. Let me tell you, when Bear put me in that ring, sometimes I'd be on the ground, and I'd wonder whether I ought to get up or not. You know, I was tired, I was hurt, I was breathing hard, and I'd wonder whether I ought to get up. But I always did. Something inside me made me do that. Something inside said, I'll never give up. I'll never give in. And I'd get up and I'd hit those SOBs as hard as I could, harder with each time. You see, workers across this country are embracing that part of ourselves. We're putting aspiration above fear. We're punching back. We're standing strong. We're fighting back. And we're finally starting to go on the offense. See, I couldn't come here today without talking about the most important piece of legislation to be introduced in a long, long time. Senator Menendez just talked about it. It's called the PRO Act, protecting the right to organize. In other words, it's letting us do our job without interference from anti-union employers or anti-worker protections. It protects the right to strike. It eliminates the right to work. It includes first contract arbitration, substantial relief for workers whose rights have been violated, and real penalties for employers who break the law. Let me tell you something. It rebalances the scale so that workers and employers come to the table as equals. And if President Trump wants to build an economy that's good for workers and not just Wall Street, well, he should stop giving tax cuts to corporations and the 1% and demand that Congress send him the PRO Act so that he can sign it and he can unleash us so that we can get better wages, better working conditions, safer places to work, healthier places to work. See, we're also going on offense to win a better, fairer NAFTA. Listen, I know how important global trade is to your industry. We support trade. For too long, if you opposed a trade agreement for any reason, you were belittled as a protectionist. But our movement is trying to shape globalization, not stop it. We're working to change the debate by focusing on trade rules, the structures that for too long have killed jobs and lowered wages. Now, of course, we should open up new markets for our products and do business with people all over the world. We want our nation's ports humming. The real challenge is to advance trade policy that creates shared prosperity and makes the world stronger and safer. And by that standard, NAFTA has been a miserable failure. Now, I applaud you because the ILA has shown great solidarity on this issue with all the other unions. You reject the false idea that to move our goods to market through the ports of Charleston, Savannah, or Baltimore, we need to put union members on the unemployment line in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. You see, that's not trade. That's greed. Unfortunately, the current new NAFTA proposal being championed by the Trump administration falls short of what we need. It lacks any real way to enforce higher labor standards. And a trade agreement that can't be enforced is completely useless. Let me put it another way. Would you accept a collective bargaining agreement that was unenforceable? Would you? I didn't think so. That's why it's time for all three countries to go back to the drawing board and come up with an agreement that actually works for workers. Bring us that deal, and we'll support it. But if the president insists on a premature vote, then we'll have no choice but to oppose it. Because workers are fed up with this race to the bottom. We're fired up, and we're not going to take it anymore. We reject those who tell us that the NAFTA model is inevitable. We reject a world of obscene inequality, and we choose a world of broadly shared prosperity. We deserve better. We demand better. We're fighting for better. And I promise you, we are going to win better. Now, protecting the right to organize and winning a new direction on trade is part of our broad vision for a better America. But to get there, we need to keep electing pro-worker candidates. At our 2017 AFL-CIO Convention, we passed a resolution committing the labor movement to electing more union members to public office. And in 2018, we did just that. Because of our recruiting efforts and training and supporting those candidates, nearly 1,000 union members were elected to public office. We sent 2 union members to the Senate. We sent 3 to be governors of the United States. We sent 18 to the House of Representatives and 960 to state and state legislatures. And that's led to the passage of pro-worker legislation from coast to coast and everywhere in between. You see, brothers and sisters, we need to carry that momentum on into 2020. There are many candidates running for president. Some are new faces. Many are friends, even good friends. But this election is much bigger than any single individual. See, 2020 can't be about personalities. It must be about workers. And that means talking to us, getting to know us. It means visiting our work sites and our union halls. It means marching on our picket lines. It means learning about our hopes and our dreams and understanding our concerns. It means an agenda that is unambiguously pro-worker and pro-union. It means having a plan to make it easier to form unions and harder to bust them. It means knowing inside and out how trade and tax and labor and immigration policies have been used to batter working families and being ready to fix them on day one. It means not just talking about infrastructure, but actually getting it done. It means filling the NLRB, the Labor Department, and every single government agency and the courts with champions of collective bargaining. You know, the late governor of New York, Mario Cuomo, said, "You campaign in poetry and you govern in prose. But for too long, our elected leaders have campaigned in promises and governed in excuses, or worse. 2020 must be different. See, the stakes are too high. Working people are drawing a line in the sand. We're refusing to settle for less in this election. Not when in some parts of our country, it's still harder to form a union than it is to climb a mountain. Not when 40% of Americans don't have $400 in the bank for an emergency. Not when more than 60% of workers haven't seen a raise in more than a year, but CEO profits are at record levels. You see, working people built this country. We keep her running every single day. Yet far too often, we've been disrespected, disregarded, abandoned. So we're demanding from a president the same thing that we demand from ourselves: hard work, integrity, honor, guts, grit, and sacrifice. And it doesn't matter if there's a D or an R or an I next to your name. If you refuse to truly make the cause of workers your own cause, then we cannot and will not endorse you. But if you join us, if you fight for us, if you walk in our shoes, then we'll move heaven and earth to elect you. And together, we can put this country back where it belongs, in the hands of workers who make it go. And brothers and sisters, we'll march for that. We'll organize for it. We'll fight for it. And let me ask you, are you ready to fight for it? Yes. Are you ready to fight for it? Yes. You see, we're going to fight for higher pay. We're going to fight for better health care. We're going to fight for a secure retirement. And we're going to fight for an economy where every worker, every single worker, has the freedom to form a union and to bargain collectively. Because remember this, we've earned it. We teach, we heal, we make, we package, we print, we bake. We dock the ships, we fight the fires, we lift the loads, we care for the sick, we mine the coal, we serve our nation with dignity and pride. We stand tall, we don't run, we don't hide. We wake this country up every morning and we put her to bed every night. This is our time. This is our moment. We're the American labor movement, and we will not be denied.